Brand. It's a word that gets thrown around regarding businesses on a daily basis. What is your brand? How should you market your brand? What's important to your brand? How do you execute on your brand? All of these can be very confusing for leaders and also for marketing managers. Well, today I have David Adcock. He is the Executive VP at Binary Automotive Solutions, and he helps companies focus on this brand and what makes it different than a marketing message. And then also how he helps them build out the processes to deliver on this customer experience so that you stand out in your market. And it's not just for automotive, it's for every business, everyone who's listening to this whole concept of brand messaging is so important to help you differentiate, because price is no longer the only factor that customers are looking at. So we dive into a lot here, from how do you create the message, but then how do you get your team on board? How do you build the processes and coach and develop your team to be able to deliver on your brand message? Very excited for this conversation. So let's dive into today's episode of You're in Charge: Conversations that Spark Change with David Adcock. So first off, David, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'm excited to dive in, because especially in your area of expertise, you've been in marketing and training and development and leadership and helping businesses with culture. There's a lot we can dive into. But the first question I want to ask you is, what exactly is brand? We hear that more and more now recently. Businesses have to focus on their brand and market their brand. So in your words, very simply, what is brand?
The brand is more why you do what you do. You know, there's a lot of people out there that want to develop how they're going to be successful and how they're going to do what it is they're going to do. But if you don't understand the why, then the how makes no difference. So when you talk about brand, you want to talk about why you do the things that you do, so that you understand that internally, so that you understand that yourself. It's very difficult to put a plan together if you don't understand why it is that you're trying to build towards where you're trying to get to.
So there seems to be, so let me clarify that, because I think I know where you're going, but that sounds very internal to the business, right?
Very much so.
All the employees, here's why we do this. What is our why buy from us message? But when you're marketing that out, okay, so someone who's in charge of marketing, they're saying, well, great, I know why we're doing what we do. Is that what they need to communicate, or is it in tandem with how we deliver it, meaning the customer experience, customer service, that the interaction is going to happen?
Fantastic question. When you're talking about a brand is not something that you are going to try to tell to the public. The brand is something that you need to bring your entire organization in from top to bottom, and everybody needs to know why you're doing what you do.
Right.
Because once the organization understands why you're doing what you do, then the mission statement is kind of more what you're going to be talking to the public about how you're going to help them, how you're going to do what it is that you do to benefit and grow what it is that they do. But unless you understand internally, and it has to be top to bottom.
Right.
You can't have, when we go into a dealership, for instance, the management team can understand the why you do things, but the boots on the ground have to understand why you do things. Everybody has to be bought in from top to bottom about why it is that you're doing it. And then once you are, the message that goes out to the public is not your brand statement. We did a presentation at a conference not long ago talking about Chick-fil-A,
right,
and talking about their brand. I think we mentioned that before, and they understand, the people in their organization understand why they want to do what they're doing. So what you see take place in a Chick-fil-A is how they're going to achieve what that brand promise is. So the brand promise is what you are doing internally and why you want to do things. The how is what you're going to talk to the public about.
Okay. Okay. So again, want to lock this down, folks, so that you don't miss that, what David just said. So the why is, we have our product. So in this case, chicken sandwich, but it's just a chicken sandwich. And as great as the chicken sandwich can be, we can all debate about that. But at the end of the day, it's a chicken sandwich. So what you're saying is what is their why, how they differentiate themselves in the market is just not words in a marketing room. We have to build actions that our employees can execute on to deliver that experience, so that
most definitely
then it connects with the people with that feeling of having a Chick-fil-A sandwich. I always say it's the question really is, how do you want your customers to feel, and then work our way backwards a little bit.
Exactly. The experience that customer has. The experience is a result of why you do what you do. When you go to a Chick-fil-A and you see that long line out the door, the long line that's going to take place in the drive-through, do you turn the car around? No, you don't, because you understand the experience that you're going to have buying the end product, which is the chicken sandwich. Right. But the experience that takes place all the way up until the time that sandwich is in your hand is as important as the chicken sandwich itself.
So would you say, because sometimes I'd love your opinion on this, because sometimes people think these words are interchangeable. Difference between customer experience and customer service.
So customer experience is how the customer feels about what's taken place through the entire process.
Right.
We're in the automotive industry. It's from the time you walk in the door to the time that you purchase the car. So customer experience is what takes place during the sale. Customer satisfaction is what takes place with the product or what it is that you purchased after the sale. So you want to make sure that customer experience is as important, and in some instances, maybe even more important. If we're sitting here talking about Chick-fil-A, if you think about it, when you go to Chick-fil-A, the way they're going to treat you, they don't say thank you, they say my pleasure.
Right.
The way that they're going to treat you, and it makes you feel good to be there. Can I buy a chicken sandwich from another fast food place? Sure, I can. But the experience, the customer experience that I receive makes me want to be there in the first place. And then the satisfaction that I get takes place after I leave that place of business.
So would you say, because again, you said satisfaction, we were talking about service. So would customer service, do you think, no, that's right. Would customer service then be a way to frame to your employees, these are the actions we take, the experiences? The customer experience could be, the way the place is lit and everything, and that's out of their control. But the customer service and your actions can be tied then to creating the experience, meaning it stays clean, the way that we greet, the way that we thank them, the way that we're organized. That's wrapping it around. The reason I wanted to hone in on that is sometimes people think, well, customer experience is out of my control, I just do what I do, versus no, actually customer service is the actions that you're doing to deliver that feeling, which ultimately is that experience that you're talking about. So then how do you, going back to our marketing manager, how do you frame that? Give me an example of some things that you would market out as a brand promise or the customer experience, those things. How do you promote that or explain that to someone without it being very, I don't want to say touchy-feely, but up in the clouds where someone doesn't really understand, like, we're going to make you feel great. I don't understand what that means. Give me some examples.
So in our world, and forgive me, I keep going back to what we do and everything, because that's the easiest way for me to explain it.
Sure.
In our world, when we go into a dealership and we bring a tool like a lifetime powertrain warranty, what that tool is designed to do is to set the dealership apart from their competition. However, A customer in today's world, when they're buying a product, and we're talking about cars, so we'll
Sure.
say cars, but when they're coming in to buy a car, all of us have for so long felt like price is what drives that customer. Okay. However, all the surveys from the JD Powers and the Cox Automotives of the world tell you that 80% of those people are buying it based on safety and security. So if I can if I can put out there a message of giving them a secure feeling, we want you to be a customer for life, so we're going to stand behind the product that you purchase for life.
Right.
That becomes a different message than come buy a car from me.
Correct.
So I want to talk to those people about, we care about you so much as a customer that we want you to feel safe and secure with your purchase, and we want you to know it's important to us, so we're going to stand behind that purchase for life. I didn't even talk about the car.
Right.
What I've done is I've talked about the experience and the feeling that you're going to get for coming into my dealership, and I'm marketing that experience as much, if not more so, than the car itself. You know, when you sit and you talk about it, you know, if you're talking about a Ford store, they're selling the same Fords that the Ford store up the street selling.
Right.
So if that's the case, why are you different? What makes you different? It's that customer experience. It's that customer satisfaction. It's that safety and security. So now that's what I'm going to market to the customer about, why I'm different, why I'm going to make you happy, versus
right. Here's the truck, or here's the
truck.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit, because I like where this is going. So, you know, in our example, and it could be, I tell the story, I came from the restaurant industry, and one of my mentors always said, you know, in New York City, there's a million places for someone to get a great steak. So a steak is a steak is a steak. It's what surrounds that steak, that experience, that makes people want to come back. And the experience has to be repeatable, because if I tell you to come to a great restaurant and you're disappointed, well, then that reflects bad on me as far as my ability to recommend restaurants to you ever again. But so what you're saying is, if the car or whatever product that whoever's listening out there, or whatever you're marketing, the product can be got 99% of the time, there's someone else selling this. So you have to position yourself of, what's it like to do business with me? Now, let me pose this question. Do you see businesses you're interacting with? I know a lot of them are automotive dealers.
Of course.
Do you see it being one or the other? Meaning, your point about the price was interesting, saying, well, you know, we always thought it was price, but is still a market, or a slice of the market, where price is the driving factor. Do you see that being a mistake, where it just is one or the other, versus really slicing and dicing and having different messages for different parts of the market?
I think that you have to have a culture in your dealership. In your business per se, you've got to have a culture that you can fall back on, that's going to be the same all the time. The product that you're selling, the price may rise, the price may fall, but the culture that you're going to sell to that customer experience, is what needs to be consistent. Do I think that they have to be completely separated? No, I don't think so. I think, you know, if we go back to talking about JD Powers, they go ask 85,000 new car buyers, rank 1 to 10, what's most important to you in your buying process. Right. Price is number 6. You know, but price is still on the list.
Sure.
Which means I still have to be aware of those things. I still have to be aware that the product at the end still has to meet that customer's desires, satisfactions. But if I keep my culture the same, I can interchange the product, not the quality, but the product itself. I can interchange. If I can keep the culture the same all the time, then people are going to appreciate the product, and even a little bit of a price difference that's in there.
Right.
they're going to
Well, do you
understand.
think so again, going down to help that marketing manager, right? Are you saying, what I'm hearing is, let's say we have, 100% of our budget. We're saying a good portion of this should be just marketing what it's like to do business with you, right?
Why are you different?
Experience, right? Why you're different, what the process is, explain to them, whatever that means. We'll get you in faster, easier, the whole idea of technology now, you can do some of the process at home, but that should be just in your arc of 100%. Let's say a third of all of your marketing is designed just about your process. And then a third of it could be about the vehicle or some sense of this is an award winner or safe or whatever. And then another small portion still dictates price to just let people know, well, my price is aligned with everyone else's. But what you're saying is we have to shift away from this. All we do is price. All we do is sale, because what people are really looking for is I just want to have a good, fast experience and with not a lot of obstacles. So we have to double down, or a good chunk of our marketing long term, not just this month, next month, but forever. And experience now, it's almost experience marketing is taking a bigger chunk of your budget. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, 100%. I learned a term when I came to work here. They used a term, unique selling proposition.
Right.
And I thought, all right, that's a term that I have not heard before. And now when we work with all of our different clients and customers and our partners across the country, we talk to them first about what's your unique selling proposition.
Right.
Once we can lay out for you what your unique selling proposition is, and we can get people to understand that from the top to the bottom. Why do we do what we do? Okay. Yep. What makes us unique? Now, how are we going to get that message out to the customer? But hey, at the same time, in my industry, price is always going to be a consideration. You were talking about restaurants. You don't see a restaurant come on and talk about the price of their steak.
Right.
They're going to talk about what makes them different. Why do you want to come see us? And that's a successful path. If you spend all your time, and we have partners in the industry who, I want to be the low price leader. That's what makes me different. I'm going to talk about price. Fine. If that's what you're going to talk about.
Well, but as long as you also deliver on that and are willing to have that business model to say, we will match everybody's price, or we're lower than everybody's. If that's to your point, that's our business model. Our processes are designed for that. All of our customer interaction is designed for that, because that's the audience we want to attract. Then that's fine. But to your point, then it has to be a top-down decision, and everyone has to be committed to, we are the lowest price in the market.
And so there, what you begin to see is that little bit of a divide. And what happens is there's a big word in our business that's retention.
Right.
The people that have a good experience, the people that have higher customer satisfaction, see higher retention numbers than the person buying on price. Because that person that buys on price, when they're ready to go get their oil changed, what's their driving motivation?
Price.
Where can I get it cheapest? Which may not be you now. Right. But if I can talk about what makes me unique, I can talk about the customer experience that I'm going to give to that customer, and I can deliver on what I'm saying, then my retention gets better, because people now are buying into the culture, buying into the value more so than buying into the price. And they come back even if I'm a little more expensive than somebody else, because of that culture and that value.
Great. So let's pivot on that a little bit. Okay. So our marketing manager who's listening to this, and they have the notes for this and going, okay, I see where we're going here. One of the big conversation points lately has been retention, especially with some of the shortages, or trying to reach out and hold on to our customers so they don't get, picked off by a competitor, whoever the competitor is. So what's your advice or a strategy for a marketing manager right now listening to this? or a general manager listening to this so they could direct their teams, or a business owner who has to retain their customers no matter what. We all want to retain our customers. Walk me through a couple tactical things that someone could be doing or they should focus on to stay connected with their customer base between purchases.
So technology now is amazing. There, as you go through all the different industries, you see different technologies that allow you to continue to stay in touch with customers, whether that be some type of a marketing campaign through a text type piece, which has become very, very popular in our industry. Whether you see loyalty programs, which are now becoming very, very important, and becomes part of your culture. If we're talking about culture, we're talking about customer experience. I can have a loyalty type program that allows a customer to now come back because of that experience. I give them a reason to come back. And now my retention gets better because I've developed something that makes them want to come back. In our industry, you talk about service drives in the automotive industry. So how do I get them into my service drive? Because a customer that has 3 quality service visits is 17 times more likely to buy their next car from me. So now I understand that fact. So now what can I do to make it enticing for that customer to come back? So to your point, we've got to be able to reach out to that customer through technology, whether that's text messaging, whether that's emails, whatever the case is, to try to stay in touch. We need to make sure we have the right systems where even by phone, I have people set up that are calling a customer for their first service drive visit, or whatever the case is, to bring them back in. I need that customer to feel connected to me as a company because of that customer experience that drives more satisfaction, which drives more retention.
Which to your point, if I'm delivering great value, great experience, then there's no need to think about going somewhere else. It's just becomes, this is time to do X. And that's where I go back. I use the example of, most of us don't change our dentist every year. We find a dentist, unless you move, you find a dentist and you lock in, and they stay in touch with you and say, it's time to come in, and you go in. Now, if the experience is horrible, they're drilling your teeth and no Novocaine and you're in pain, you're going, I think I need to go find someone else. But most of the time we don't make those changes. But yet for a lot of businesses, it's a very short-term, low-hanging fruit. I was interviewing a couple podcast episodes ago, Jason Rice, CEO of Lot Pop, and he said a lot of time we were talking about business leaders' visions, and he said it's a delicate dance of focusing on what needs to happen today and long term, but we sometimes get so focused on the short-term wins or that low-hanging fruit that we don't plan long term. We just think that there's always going to be fruit next month, versus that real long-term vision of that. So let me ask you this. You've been in business for a long time, and you're in charge of a lot of things. And so obviously you build internal teams, for your own, and you go in and you're helping organizations with their teams. So as I said, the part of this podcast was built to help those people who find themselves in charge get the help they need, because a lot of times people are thrown into these situations and it's, hey, figure it out yourself. So when you go in and you see these disconnects, right? Because sometimes someone's going to reach out to you to say, hey, I need help, meaning I need more customers, or what can you help me with? When you go in and you start analyzing why businesses struggle, what's one of the biggest things that you see in terms of interacting with employees, execution of teams? Where's there a big disconnect that you see?
2 biggest things that come to mind immediately: positivity. Guys, negative does not sell. In too many instances, we walk into a place of business or whatever, and you hear the people that are in charge pounding their fist on the desk. I need this. This is how I want it done. I don't hear that. positivity, I had an opportunity to coach college football, and you learn that the positive message resonates with people. If you want people to buy into your vision, positivity works, fear does not.
Well, let me ask you about that. I just want to push back just for a quick second, because what I hear a lot of times is that worked at one time, meaning some of the older managers were saying that's the way I was trained, and either they're just mimicking the example they had and thought, well, it worked for me, it should work for someone else. I agree with you, but do you just think it's the evolution of there's no reason to put up with this anymore, so why would I want to work in an environment like that? Or is it just the evolution because there's people now who have written books and done studies and said this doesn't really work?
So I would tell you this. Has the evolution helped change that? Sure, it has. However, positivity has worked all the way back from the very beginning. Okay. There have been people that were trained to be, hey, put the fear of God in them, and they're going to listen to you, and they're going to follow you, and they're going to do what you, because they're scared to death.
Right.
But in today's world, does turnover bother you? Is turnover expensive to a company? Absolutely, it is. So if I'm spending money to bring people in, to teach them what it is, what my vision is, why we're going to do things, how we're going to do things, and I have to find a way to make sure that they are successful so that they stay and I recoup that investment that I put in. If I turn around and I do it in a negative manner, it pushes people away. You're absolutely right.
Do you think that's because, again, just to try to unlock this, because there's probably people sitting in here going, yeah, I, if they're honest with themselves, they say, I don't know how to train people. I don't know how to develop people. Nobody taught me. But is there a lack of investment from businesses and business leaders at the top to think that's a valuable trait?
100%. 100%. That was going to be, I told you there were two parts. The first one's positivity. The second one's training. And if you're not good at training, one of the strengths that you need to have is realizing that you're not good at something that you need to bring somebody in to do. Because I can give you a positive message, but if I don't continue to reinforce that message and give you the tools necessary to act on that message, then the message doesn't matter.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. The two biggest things in me answering that question would be positivity and training. And you can't train once and expect that it sticks and it goes away. Training is an ongoing thing that has to happen every week, every day, and continue to keep people bought into the message. We talk about, you mentioned the way things are today. How many messages are they getting from the outside?
Right.
If I'm not continuing to train our message and train why we do what we do and how we do it, those things that come in from the outside, or people have a tendency to want to revert to the path of least resistance, and maybe that's not what I'm training. If I don't continue training them, they're going to go back.
Yes. There's two things about that, and I really love that. And so everyone who's listening, again, I always say there's a second word that a lot of people forget. It's development, right? It really is called training and development. Training is initial. Developing is that ongoing coaching. And for you, from coaching football, it seems natural to you to say, well, it's a journey. I'm coaching you week in, week out. We're going to get better at the execution of a play, your skills. It's ongoing. I always said if businesses ran their teams as a sports team, where we have that investment of we bring in people to help build skills, right? If it's football, I have a quarterback coach, I have a tight end, I have experts. Then I also have somebody who's focusing on weightlifting and speed or nutrition or psychology. We're bringing all of these assets in. Absolutely. Why? To help our people execute the play so that we can be successful. I think it's short-sighted, to your point, of the investment of training, because it's not tangible. It goes back to that short 30-day cycle. If it's not going to help me today, is it worth it? And that investment in your people has to be from the top down. and really long term. Now, for those of you listening, if you're sitting in a position in whatever business you are and you say, well, my company doesn't believe in that, well, then you need to invest in yourself to go find a mentor, a coach to build those skills so that you can continue your journey. Now, it may or may not be with that company, and you might have to move, but listen, why suffer? You have to invest in yourself as well.
Absolutely. And you know, to your point, you know, in a sports team atmosphere, you don't run the play once and then go, all right, we're ready to go.
Right.
You run it again and again and again in practice, and then you use it during the game. And then the next week you come back, we're still doing the same drills. We're still running that same play in practice, because as you continue to train it and continue to practice, you get better and better and better. There's not a ceiling. You can continue to grow through training. Even if you're continuing to train the same things, you get better at doing those things.
Right.
So
well,
yeah, it needs to be an ongoing
your confidence gets
100%.
better, so that I always say the more confident you are, the more relaxed you are, and the more that you can just be present and listen, because you're not thinking what the next word track I'm supposed to say or what's the next step in the process. You know, it is more, I know exactly what I need to do, and I can go full bore that way in that direction because I'm 100% confident. So let's talk about you for a quick second, because we've been talking about everybody else. So walk me through this coaching and journey of yourself. If I look back over your life, you know, if we go roll you back to high school times or college times, was leadership, whether you had the title or not, was leadership or building teams or being part of teams, has that always been part of your journey?
It most assuredly has. I was very, very fortunate growing up. I grew up in a family of very positive people. My grandfather was a Hall of Fame high school football coach. My dad and my grandfather both played college football. There was a leadership mentality that was given. My family owns a very large independent insurance agency in Florida that's been around for over 50 years. It's all about leadership. It's all about being in charge and getting that message out to people and building people up around you, because you can't do these things by yourself.
Correct.
And being able, the concept of a rising tide lifting all boats is 100% true. And I had the opportunity to be around very positive people that were driven to be successful, but driven to help the people around them to be successful. And that really drove my ability to do the things that I do today. So 100% since I was a kid.
So talk to me about that, because I think a lot of people mistake leadership. And the interesting thing, as I said, when I started this, people said, oh, it's about running a business. I said, no, people are in charge of a million things. You could be in charge of your household. You could be in charge of a club. You could be in charge of just your own weight loss program, whatever it is, you're in charge. So when you're looking at your grandfather and your father and you're watching them, and you said you're surrounded by people who are driven to succeed, what were some of the keys? Because it's usually watching them, what they do, aligning with what they say. But give me a couple keys that you could share with the audience about what you saw them do. What were some of the things that they did day in and day out as a process or a structure that helped them generate success?
From the very moment, my earliest memories all the way up through today, I can tell you that they led by example, always still lead by example, and there was nothing that was below them. They would do whatever it was that they had to do. They weren't above taking out the garbage in the company. I mean, This is the guy that owns the company, who's willing to do whatever it takes to be successful. And he's leading by example, showing the rest of the world that, hey, if you're going to be successful, it's about every step, not just getting here and seeing yourself as being this guy. You have to lead by example, and by doing that, you're going to raise the people around you up. And those are, you can't do these things by yourself. These people who want to sit in their big high back chairs and smile and talk about, hey, I'm in charge, it's my company, I run it, I want you to do this, this, and this. I can tell you that the owner of the company I work for here today is not above doing anything that it takes to be successful. And those are the people I want to surround myself with.
That's great. Yeah, I was reading an article this morning. Someone was talking about that gentleman, Dan Price, who's the CEO. He's the one who took the $1 million pay cut to make sure all of his employees had a base salary of $70,000. Right. But he had a comment that said, everyone calls me a self-made millionaire. He goes, but actually, it's me plus a lot of other hardworking people.
100%.
Together, we were successful. Like the company's successful because of all the people. And I like that. What you're saying is the actions, it just has to get done. We're all in this together. I think one of the mistakes is people feel they've made it and they forget what all of the actions and the work that they did day in, day out to achieve that success. I always say it's easy to become successful. It's hard to stay successful.
100%.
Because 100%. You can really get. So let's talk. I got a little bit. I want to pivot, and then we got a couple more things to talk about. So in this idea of this leadership, how did you take those lessons? How, like you're seeing it, how did you apply it to yourself in your own actions? What did you take from them? And then give me, so taking it what we saw them do for the people listening here, what are some of your key strategies or structures or things that you do maybe every day, or how you organize your day or month to keep you successful?
Well, the very first thing I would tell you is that the good Lord above gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I should listen twice as much as I talk. If you listen to the things that are going on around you, you will learn things. The day that you feel that you have learned it all and that you know everything, and like you say, hey, I've made it. Once you reach that point, you're going to stop growing.
Right.
So I need to listen because I'm going to learn new things all the time that I can use in my world or help somebody else with their world. And it's my job to pay attention to everyone around me to see what their struggles are so that I can be of service to them to reach their goals. Let's be honest, this is cliche and this is terrible, but I will reach my goals if everyone around me reaches theirs.
Yeah, I don't think that's cliche. I think a good friend of mine, Dan Moore, who's the president of a company called VistaDash, used to always say, my job as a leader is to remove obstacles for my team so they can perform.
100%. It is my job when I show up on a daily basis to see what I can do to make the path to success less blocked for those people that are part of this company. Right. And not just part of this company, life in general. You need to be there, not only present in what you do for a living, but present in life itself. How can you be of service to those people around you?
Sure.
If you continue to be of service to everyone around you, your boat's going to rise because everybody else around you is rising.
No, I think that's great. Yeah.
I will reach my goals when the people around me reach theirs.
And I think that's a great point because we sometimes think we may not have that impact, or we're not leaders because we don't have a title. I always challenge people. I've mentioned this a few times. One of my volunteer jobs that I do is I help people in job transition, who are in the market looking for a job, but they've been with a company for 8 to 10 years. And the whole way you find a job is completely different, but people get hung up on titles. And when I say remove your titles, right? Even for yourself, if I said, forget every title that you ever had, right? Just forget about it because they don't matter from company to company. But if you look back at all of your jobs, there's probably a common theme through all of them. Either you found yourself in charge, whether you had the title or not, or people always came to you, or you were the one who explained everything, or you were the one great with numbers. Once you unlock that, all of a sudden they go, wow, I never thought about it. There is a common thread. So let me ask you, if you looked at your own journey, what's the common thread through everything?
The common thread in my journey is never surrender. You're going to get thrown a lot of crazy curves in your life, not only personally, but professionally. And having that faith to continue to push forward and to not give up, people around you see that. And I have been blessed with being relatively calm in handling things. So when things get sideways, I'm a big believer in the person that keeps their head is the one who succeeds when everybody else around them is losing theirs.
Right.
So continue perseverance, continuing to be positive, continuing to never surrender, and staying calm through that process helps people around you feel calm and feel like, hey, the boat's not sinking.
Right.
So how do we resolve this problem? I have a lot of people that come to me and they say, hey, this happened and this person did this, and we need to sit down with them and we need to, get on them for doing that. Wait, hold on. Let's find out how we solve the problem.
Right.
Let's solve the problem first. Then once we solve the problem, let's teach them how not to get back in that situation again. Beating somebody over the head about something that took place before, if you can teach them how you can do it better next time, that's much more positive and much more long lasting than beating them over the head with something. People don't remember getting beat over the head. There's a reason they give dogs treats and they perform tasks instead of smack them on the head. Let's be honest. So I've been very blessed to have people around me that had tremendous attitudes, that were concerned about making sure the people around them were growing, and I've adopted that, or been and you hang around it long enough, by proxy, you end up getting it whether you want to or not, and that's really positive for the people around you, and people become successful. And it lifts your world. I enjoy it. I love when people come in and ask those questions.
Well, and for all of you listening, if you listen to what we're talking about, what David just said is, if you're not getting the results you want, get rid of the emotions. Emotions cloud everything. And I always say actions cause results. Right. So if we didn't get the results, we have to go back and look at the actions. Either someone's doing the actions they're supposed to, but not correctly. Maybe they're doing the wrong actions. Everybody's doing something. No one's just sitting around doing nothing. But we have to unlock that. And I always say, to your point, is ask the right questions and then listen. Don't make assumptions, because in this case, I need to understand if it's a knowing, K-N-O-W, like, do you not know what you're supposed to do, or did you forget what you're supposed to do? Okay. Versus a knowing, N-O, meaning I don't like what it is, or I don't agree with it, or I don't, for whatever reason. But if I only choose one of those, I miss the other half. So to your point is, when I ask this, then I can unlock it and have a conversation. Then I can do more training. I can do development. I can have the conversations that are going to generate the results in the future, versus just randomly yelling at someone, assuming they don't know, and missing the fact that they disagree and they think that they have a better way. And if I address that, I win them over long-term, more than drive them out because he doesn't listen. Glenn's a horrible manager. I quit.
You said something incredibly powerful there that people need to hear. Asking questions is a huge opportunity for growth. One of the great opportunities in my life, I met someone earlier in my career that taught me how to ask questions and listen.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting in front of somebody and drilling them with information, or drilling them about what they did wrong or why they need to do something, lectures don't work. Ask a question of that person. Ask them, what did you see? What did you feel? What did you do? What was your thought pattern? And you'll be able to identify where the mistake took place,
right,
and then help them to resolve that. But if I'm just dictating to you, I don't know what you're thinking. I could be going a completely wrong direction.
Right.
So what you just said there about asking questions is paramount in success, not only in business, training, but personal life. Ask questions and listen. That's a tremendous point you just made.
Great. I appreciate that. So, all right. So as we wrap up here, at the end of every episode, we always do what I call my little behind the mic rapid fire questions, get to know you a little bit. So, don't overthink these, just answer what you think.
Ready.
All right. So, favorite cheat meal or favorite food that you just go, I got to have?
Chinese takeout.
Oh, okay. High end or cheap Chinese?
Oh, no, cheap. No, cheap. You got to go. Last night, went and got on the way home, tired. You know what? I'm pulling in here to this hole in the wall place and getting takeout in those styrofoam containers. And
so what's your go-to meal in the Chinese?
I'm a sweet and sour pork guy.
Okay.
I like sweet and sour pork, sweet and sour chicken. Those are, you know, I'm cheating. I like sweet stuff.
There you go. All right. Place that you would like to travel to that you've never gone?
Scotland. I want to play golf in Scotland. Golf is a huge part of my life and my son's life, my family. I have never been to Scotland and Ireland to play golf. That's my number one spot to go.
Yeah, I haven't played in a while. I used to play a lot, and I've been to Scotland, but way before I played golf, but it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. What's a movie that you stop and watch when you run across it?
Holy cow. There's way too many. So, you know, I'm a kid at heart, so all that Marvel stuff I love, but I'm a little bit of a Trekkie. I grew up watching the old Star Trek movies, and I'll always stop. Star Trek 2, always going to be my favorite.
There you go. What is a book that you're reading or something you're listening to that's inspiring you that you would share and say, here's something, put on your reading list?
Got a couple, but I'm going to give you one that I have read multiple times. My father made me read it growing up. It's called Seeds of Greatness, Dennis Waitley. Absolutely a tremendous book. And the lessons that I learned as a teenager have not changed in that book. Every time that I feel like maybe I might be a touch off course, you read those Seeds of Greatness. Absolutely great on point stuff.
All right. All right. We got two more. I'm going to get your family, your close friends all in a room and ask them to describe you with one word. What would that word be?
I hope that word's positive. Excited.
Okay, great. I like that. Well, I would definitely say you're definitely positive and you have a lot of passion. Sometimes passionate people, they default to, I think people think I'm crazy, but I don't think so. Everything you've been saying today.
I like crazy too. I used to coach special teams. I like crazy.
Yeah, that you need that on those teams. All right, last question. We've talked about a lot of things, covered a lot through leadership and marketing and really tactical things. If there was just one thing that you would hope the audience walked away with, just one out of everything, what would that one thing be?
Work on bringing the people around you up. Build up the people around you. That's good for everybody. You know, it's not just about you. If you bring up the people around you, you get better, but you have more people that want to be around you. And the more people that are around you that you have an opportunity to influence on a positive basis is going to absolutely have a direct influence on your success. Great. So, hey, be positive. Bring those people around you up. You'll sleep great at night.
That is awesome. I love that one. I could not agree with you more. I think the more that you focus, I was interviewing someone the other day and they said, it's not about you. That's what makes a great leader. It's not about you.
100%.
It's about your team and you'll benefit from that. So David, thank you so much for being here today. This is phenomenal. I could sit and chat with you forever. This is great stuff.
It's my pleasure. This is awesome.
Great. Appreciate it. So for the audience who want to connect with you on social, find out more about your company, where do they connect with you?
So I'm obviously on LinkedIn, David Adcock on LinkedIn, Binary Automotive Solutions, our website, binaryauto.com. You can reach me there, and happy to get with anybody, and whatever I can do to help somebody around me, I'm happy to be part of.
Well, I appreciate that. So for all of you listening, This has been a good one. I hope you took a lot of notes. I hope you come back multiple times to listen to this. Again, please, if you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, be it Apple, Spotify, Google Play, we're everywhere. Also, we have the video, so if you want to watch the both of us, you can see that on the YouTube channel by the same name. Again, please share it out. There's a lot of people who could benefit from what David just shared. I think it's really impactful. And as always, please rate us. Put your comments in. Love to hear what you have to say. As always, I know there's a lot of places for you to listen and get your information, and you sharing it with us today has meant a lot to me. So as I say at the end of every episode, you're in charge. But David has given you a few more tools to help you become more successful, both personally and professionally. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you next episode. Thanks again, David.
Thank you, Glenn.